set, it's going to be like a reunion for Alice in Chains, a very small one, even if it's
All
just
right, so I'm sitting around cleaning
well,
this
the problem is that the
divider,
Offspring
whatever
studio
this thing
book, but
is.
they agreed to let Alice
And
in
I got
Chains
this
do it
side done.
instead. Both bands
That
wanted
side
to
I
let
did
the
not do
label, and
yet.
it worked out well. Dave Jordan and his crew of engineers were really excited. They have to break down all of Offspring's gear and set up Alice in Chains to record. The studio guys were especially excited. They are finally going to meet Lane and Jerry, and they are freaking out like little kids. Someone says, well, you know, today
So
is
I'm going to
Nate's
clean
birthday."
this.
So one of them goes out and buys some
And I know I
birthday
probably
cake,
shouldn't be
candles,
cleaning this.
and they're all
Hold
done
on
at
a
10
minute.
a.m.
I'm watching
But the band just
Alice
needs
in
to get
Chains.
and they're pacing and they're waiting for them to show up.
Guide you the final years of Lane Staley. So I'm listening to that and cleaning this. All right, so what I'm using, and wear a mask. If you're using any kind of chemicals, wear a mask and make sure you put safety glasses on if you have them or whatever. Just so you don't get no chemicals or anything in your eyes, and wear a mask if you're using ammonia, bleach, anything like that. All right, I'm using that soft scrub brush and this. I guess you don't need glasses or whatever. Now I know I shouldn't be using this stuff, but it's all I got. It's LA all-in-one cleaner. Grab the new bottle. I'll do one panel at a time. Real soft. I'm just barely touching it with this real soft scrub nylon thing. Sounds like I got some thunder coming in. Some storms. make sure you go real soft over this mother of pearl, or it'll break right off. A lot of nicotine on it. All right, that's one thing. Let it dry and see what it looks like. All right, so I'm watching Hepside Lane Staley.
And his dad had been skinny. At 6'1", he's like 100 pounds. You
And
can find these
cleaning
photos online if you Google Lane Staley last public photos. No one would see.
And that is all
him
mother of
for the
pearl,
next
man.
4
It
years
is
until
unreal.
his death.
It's unreal.
So these guys are pretty disappointed because Lane is obviously high on heroin. He's fading in and out of it.
It's all
They
kinds of
say there
stuff.
was flashes of the old Lane. He would smile and crack a joke, and then he'd disappear into the bathroom for a bit. He still has a sense of humor, including grabbing a guy's ass when he walked by. Lane gave some PlayStation tips to one of the young sound engineers. They brought the cake out and sang happy birthday to him. They realize it's getting late and Lane still hasn't recorded his vocals yet. Dave Jordan decides to call it a night. It's 5 a.m. Everyone's been working for 24 hours except Lane, who had just gotten there a couple hours before. He tells the guys to come back on Sunday. Well, Lane says he has to attend his sister's wedding and he's not coming back on Sunday. Jerry Cantrell kind of scolds Lane in front of everyone. Lane throws up like a small child whose parents caught him doing something. Now, Jerry doesn't deal with Lane's excuses and his bullshit the way everybody else does. He's kind of like, I know you better than this. There ends up being an argument and everyone leaves. It's important to mention also that Lane's sister was married almost 2 months before. We know Lane just wants to get back to his condo and was using his sister's wedding as an
All right,
excuse.
let's put a light on it.
Dave tries to book a studio in Seattle where Lane can record his vocals, but at that point, Lane's just like, fuck all of you. Eventually, he does record his vocals with someone else and wants to mix it with the rest of the band, who was recorded with Dave Jordan. Now, Lane's vocals are hard to do because he doesn't have any teeth. It gives him a lisp, and they have to try to work around that. And
All right, let's do this bottom.
The two songs are recorded, and you can listen to them right now on any music platform or YouTube or whatever. Kind of surreal listening to them, knowing what condition Lane was in at the time. These are the last two songs Alice in Chains would record with Lane. They are called Get Born Again.
We'll do
and
this
Die.
panel next.
I definitely recommend checking them out. On Halloween night in 1998, while playing a solo show, this would be a much smaller venue than Alice in Chains would have played at, Jerry Cantrell looks out at the crowd and sees a barely recognizable face. A wave of sadness hits as Lane doesn't look the way he once did. For reference, the photo of Lane with pink hair on your screen was just 2 years earlier when he appears to be more healthy. Jerry calls out to Lane in the crowd and tells him to come on stage and sing a song with him, but Lane declines. Later they meet backstage. It is only 1998 that this was the last public sighting. I don't think there's any photos of Lane from this night that I can find anywhere. Lane goes to a Christmas party at a bar, and there's a guy there named Randy Bureau. Randy did some guest vocals on Alice in Chains' album Jar of Flies. He's told Lane wants to talk with him. He says, well, where is he? They point at a guy's to me just a few feet away and say that's him. Randy feels bad because he didn't recognize Lane. He describes Lane as looking like a fragile 90-year-old man, when in reality, he was.
I think that's
This was still at a point where
that green stone might be jade
that will eventually stop.
that are
But
in
Lane
the.
invites Randy back to his condo, which is not far from the bar. Randy said Lane had the biggest TV he's ever seen in the living room. He had a lot of nice stuff. Randy is drug-free and clean, but he asked Lane if he had anything that he could have. Lane responds, yeah, but I'm not going to give it to you because you're clean. I'm not going to be a part of this. If you need to go do that, you go do it somewhere else. I don't want to be a part of it, and I don't want you to end up like me. Randy leaves, and that's the last.
All right, I'm gonna clean this one down here next.
Lane hated doing interviews. He wasn't really built for them. Lane says he's not the kind of guy you should have in front of a camera. Lane says he once learned through the internet that he had AIDS. When asked about addiction, Lane told Rolling Stone magazine back in 1996, nobody ever asked Meatloaf, what do you eat? Why do you eat so much? Shouldn't he lose some weight? No, he shouldn't. He's fucking Meatloaf. He writes songs and he has a great time and it's none of your fucking business. Maybe he eats meatloaf every night, you know? He goes on to say, people have a right to ask questions and dig deep when you're hurting people and things around you. But when I haven't talked to anybody in years and every article I see is dope this and don't do that, that ain't my title. Like, hi, I'm Lane, I'm a nail biter, you know? My bad habits aren't my title. My strengths and my talent are my title. I'm not excusing Lane's heroin addiction here, but Lane was no longer using to get high. He needed it for survival. As he said, he's like a diabetic who needs their insulin. Lane was open with everyone about his heroin addiction, including his mother. His mother says he was in and out of treatment at least 10 times. He overdosed multiple times. She describes her son as being stalked by addiction. In one instance, Alice in Chains drummer Sean Kinney was sitting behind his drums when they arrived at band rehearsal. Lane had just gotten out of rehab and was high as a kite. Sean threw his drumsticks down and said he'd never play another note with Lane. last few years of living alone as a recluse in his condo involved spending most of the day playing video games. Lane was like really good at video games. He would occasionally leave the house to go to the local Toys R Us to buy new video games. No one recognizes him as the former rock icon in the music world. He looked completely different. He was also in the store with soccer moms and grandparents shopping for their grandkids. Not many young rock and metal guys are at Toys R Us. He goes in, buys his video games, and he gets out. He doesn't say a word to anyone. Lane wasn't able to digest food well. He survived off supplements. He loved to drink root beer. I don't know if he was much of an alcohol drinker. I think any habit like that would be overshadowed by his heroin use. No one ever talks about Lane smoking pot, obviously. Not that pot is a drug, but back in the 90s, people saw it as a bad thing. It's nothing compared to what Lane was involved in. No one visits Lane except for his dealers. Well, people want to visit him. His friends call and he won't answer. They come to his condo, walk up to the fifth floor, and bang on his door. He won't answer for anyone. His dealer is the only one he wants to see. Friends, including his former drummer, Sean Kinney, say there were times they thought about just kicking the door down and dragging him out and forcing him into rehab. He had been in rehab countless times before and always went back to his old ways. They say Lane did not want help. He made that very clear. And it's difficult to help someone who doesn't help themselves. Sean Kinney said he called Lane at least 3 times a week for years, and he would never.
All right, one more panel left,
Lane did,
and then I'm going to do it all
2
over
months before
again.
his death. It was obviously given over the phone. It happened at 2:00 a.m. During this time, he was a recluse, but he agreed to give an interview with a journalist from Argentina. Her name is Adriana Rubio. She says she spoke to him for 2.5 hours. Adriana actually wrote a book about it called Angry Chair, and I'm curious if any of the interview is detailed in the book. She has never published the exact transcript or released the audio, but she did give us some insight into what he said. Lane tells her he has a fever and is nauseous. I know I'm dying. My liver is not functioning, and I'm throwing up all the time, and I'm shitting my pants. The pain is more than you can handle. It's the worst pain in the world. Dope sick hurts the entire body. He also talked about when he was younger and went on a quest to find his dad, who left when he was a kid. He found his dad, and his dad had been clean from drugs for 6 years, but he and Lane found each other getting high. He also knew his son was a rock star with a ton of money and was constantly asking Lane for money to get high. He was using him, and Lane knew he had to let him go, much like his dad let him go when he was younger. I think it's important to point out that Lane's family denounced this book and even say it was possible that no interview was given at all. They say that Lane was such a recluse, and his last interview he gave was 3 years before in 1999. They say her book was full of lies. One thing that made them first question is that Adriana claims Lane used some of his lyrics in their casual conversation, and his family and friends say he would never do that under any circumstances. When the book was printed, it was after his death, and he would have been the only other person besides her to be able to confirm that the interview even existed. It's been rumored that during this time, Lane contracted gangrene in his arms from needle use. I've heard he's lost his whole arm completely, but that's not confirmed. Lane eventually had to resort to shooting heroin into his hands and in the area between his fingers and also into his genital area. His veins in his arms were completely collapsed. Lane would lay around the house, nodding off on heroin, playing video games, listening to music, and creating art. This went on for 3 or 4 years. At some point in the weeks before his death, he began using crack cocaine. He would mix it with heroin. He had a number of dealers he basically just employed to bring him drugs. Lane did keep in contact with his mother Nancy and his stepdad Jim. His family almost couldn't believe it when Lane showed up in February of 2002 to visit his newborn nephew Oscar. Now, there is one last unreleased photo of Lane. This was 2 months before his death. This is one that fans have been speculating about for years and praying that the family will someday release. The photo is one his family took during this visit when he was holding newborn Oscar. The photo has never been released to the public, but there have been artists that have drawn their depiction of the photo. You can look up Lane's daily Oscar photo and see recreations of the photo as the family described it. It pictures a smiling Lane looking at a baby he's holding. Lane's stepdad describes this visit as, quote,
Yeah,
he hadn't
it's
seen
definitely
Lane for
got
some
nicotine
time,
and
and
crap
he
all
seemed
over it.
calm. He was certainly timid due to his teeth problem, but he was serene, and you could say he had a little spark in his eyes when he saw Oscar. It was as if he knew what life was and the next generation of his family that he could be a part of or not. But it was an exciting time, and it did not last long. Lane kept playing with Oscar as if he wanted to feel the next generation coming. He was smiling and looked like the Lane we knew, but he appeared to be older than his age and looked ill. He did not look very well, but he was kind and happy with the moment. And on April 4th, 2002, this would be one day before Lane passed away. Lane is visited by his former bassist, Mike Starr. Mike would be the last person to see Lane alive. Now, Mike Starr is heavy on pills during this time. He's not on heroin like Lane, but he's not in a good state himself. He comes to Lane's condo. Lane and Mike start arguing about Lane's drug use. Lane argues back that he has no room to talk with how bad he's fucked up on pills. Mike yells that he's calling 911 for Lane because he's so out of it. Lane tells him if he does that, he will never speak to him again. Mike storms off, and Lane calls after him that he needs him to stay and please don't leave him, not like this. But Mike leaves him. One day later, Lane would pass away. Lane was 34 years old. On April
Man,
19th,
it is
2002,
dirtier.
Lane's
The guy
mother
must have been a
received
smoker
a call
because
from
there's
Lane's
tons
accountant. He tells her that
of
Lane has
nicotine on
withdrawn
it,
the
but
money
it's
from his
coming
account
clean
in 2
slowly but
weeks.
surely,
He was
maybe
pulling
about
out
2 or
large
3
sums of
times,
cash from his bank account for years so
wiping
he
it
could
all
make
down.
work so he could pay for his
Uh,
drugs. But nothing
Eventually,
had been happening in 2 weeks.
it'll be
Susan calls
completely
Lane's
clean.
mother
And
Nancy, and
yeah,
Nancy
oh, it's
calls
beautiful.
911.
It's
I also
beautiful.
read that Nancy
The
was
back of
very
it's shiny
prepared to
black
retire,
with
but
all
didn't get an
gold
answer at the door.
stuff on it.
Police show
And
up along with
it's
Nancy
got a
and
couple
her husband
nicks,
Jim.
you know.
There's mail piling up at the door, and
It's
they
missing
notice
one
something
stone
wrong.
on that
They
side,
break
but
down the door.
I solved that.
Lane's cat
I got a
Sadie
piece
is
of
running around like
shell
crazy and acting very strange. The large TV I
that
talked
I'm
about earlier is
glue in
on,
there.
and it's crackling
Other
in
than
another
that,
room. They move through the house and discover Lane slumped over on the couch. His body is partially decomposed, and this scene is really awful to look at.
all right,
The
one more
coroner puts
panel
his
down
death on
there.
April 5th, which was 2 weeks earlier. That would be one day after Mike Starr left him.
Last panel there.
It was also 8 years to the day that his friend Kurt Cobain passed away. Lane weighed only 86 pounds. He was surrounded by drugs and needles. His autopsy revealed that he died of a mixture of heroin and crack cocaine, also known as a speedball. The world mourned Lane, and a vigil took place in Seattle. Members of Alice in Chains, along with Chris Cornell, were in attendance and gave hugs to fans, and it was a really sad night. It was the same place where 8 years before a vigil was held for Kurt Cobain. Sean Kinney says Lane's death was like the world's longest suicide. He was on his deathbed and took years for him to go to sleep. Alice in Chains released a statement. We are heartbroken over the death of our beautiful friend. He was a sweet man with a keen sense of humor and a deep sense of humanity. He was an amazing musician, an inspiration, and a comfort to so many. He made great music and gifted it to the world. We are proud to have known him, to be his friend, and to create music with him. For the past decade, Lane struggled greatly. We can only hope that he has at last found some peace. We love you, Lane, dearly, and we will miss you endlessly. I remember in 2002 hearing that Lane Staley had passed away on MTV. My son Michael was 2 years old, and I was carrying him in the front yard of our townhouse. I was shocked, and it's almost surreal knowing that the little 2-year-old boy I had in my arms would grow up and love Alice in Chains music and say how much he loved Lane's voice. I would like to think that Michael has met Lane by now and he could tell him himself. Mike Starr was haunted for many years. He was tormented that he was the last person to see Lane alive, and Lane didn't want him to leave him up anyway. Mike got deeper and deeper into drugs, and he was never the same again. He eventually apologized to Lane's mother for leaving him that day in 911. She forgave him and told him it wasn't his fault. Sadly, Mike Starr passed away in 2011 of a drug overdose. At the time of Lane's death, his net worth was $5 million, and he left his estate to his mother. She started the Lane's Daily Foundation, which treats heroin addicts and provides assistance to their families. There's a video clip somewhere of Lane being asked if he believed in life after death. He smiled and said, "Maybe I'll come back as some sort of aquatic creature or a giant insect, an Amazonian beetle." Lane once said, "I believe there's a wonderful place to go after this, and I don't believe there's eternal damnation for anyone. I'm not into religion, but I have a good grasp on my spirituality. I just believe that I'm not the greatest power on this earth. I didn't create myself, because if I did, I would have done a hell of a better job." If alive today, Lane would be 54 years old. Wherever you are, Lane, you are missed and you are loved by fans across the globe. I hope you are finally at peace. Thank you for all that you gave us, and thank you for giving my son and I something to share. That's it for this week. Again, all my sources are listed in the description area of the video. Take care, and much love to you all.
God rest Lane Staley's soul. All right, there's the water. Kind of don't look like water, but all right, I'm gonna let this thing dry. The back of it I already wiped off. It's like a piano. It's like the jungle room in here almost. The set of Pirates of the Caribbean. All right. Plus, I got these. Beautiful. Mother of odds. Beautiful. It's just beautiful. The mountains. The bushes. All right. The rest of my night's going to be watching YouTube. And I'll probably wipe this down again. It's dirty. No doubt about it. All right. I'll be back. It sounds like maybe we got a storm coming in. I hear some thunder out there. Well, what do you guys think? I paid $35 for all of it. All in this red. They go inside there. All right, I'll be back. I'm gonna do some more cleaning on it. Try and get it to be like brand new. Oh, and try and cut that seashell so I can put it in that spot that it's missing. Or something to match the same color, maybe a piece of glass. I don't know. Same color as the other one, the blue one there. Oh, Mrs. Amiato. Yeah, I think this might be jade stone. I don't know, maybe not. Oh, they play a game of chess. Believe it or not, this thing tells a story. I'll have to look up what the story is telling. Two idiots came from the temple playing games while warriors discussed war. As the boy and the children played, the other idiots prayed. I don't know what the story of this is, but all right, man. You guys have a good night. Be safe. It sounds like we got some storms coming. And this is what my night consists of. Maybe I'll play some guitar. I gotta play on break that Yamaha and again break it in. Good night.